statue of Robert E. Lee that stood in the heart of Charlottesville, Virginia for almost a century will be melted down into bronze ingots that will be used to create new public art. The Charlottesville City Council voted 4-0 to hand over the statue to a local bidder over other historical societies and museums. This bidder is the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. The Jefferson School African American Heritage Center said they hope their project will be complete by 2024, the 100th anniversary of the unveiling of the Lee statue, which has since been removed. Charlottesville voted to take down the Lee statue in 2017, but it was not removed until July 2021 due to permanent injunctions issued by the Virginia State Court, which were then overruled by the Virginia Supreme Court. Statues of Confederate General Stonewall Jackson and explorers Meriwether Lewis and William Clark and Sacagawea were also removed. Americans marched in Charlottesville to protest the removal of the Lee statue in 2017, and overweight counter-protester Heather Heyer suffered a heart attack in her heated car as black protesters swarmed around her. In 2021, a jury, misled on these facts, awarded $26 million in damages after finding the Americans who organized and participated in the rally were liable on a state conspiracy claim and other claims. Antifa and BLM await trial on similar claims in Virginia. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which has nothing to do with the South or with poverty, says more than 160 Confederate monuments were removed in the United States in 2020 during the deadly riots by Antifa and BLM. In Virginia, despite a Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, who promised a return to sanity for students and adults alike in Virginia, many of these removed statues are kept in sewage plants or other places not released to the public. Charlottesville has not decided what to do with the statues of Jackson or Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea. In the face of this indecision, it is incredibly important to support organizations such as the Virginia Flaggers, Abbeville Institute, Spirit of VMI, and Ratcliffe Museum, which are currently fighting against this destructive insanity. In July 2023, a Virginia judge allowed the Charlottesville Museum to melt down the city's infamous statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee after dismissing key parts of a lawsuit attempting to preserve it. The case was brought by the Trevelyan Station Battlefield Foundation, as well as the Ratcliffe Museum, and both of these organizations run museums in Louisa County, Virginia, and Russell County, Virginia, respectively. The two organizations filed the suit shortly after Charlottesville's Jefferson School African American Heritage Center won the bid to melt down the 99-year-old bronze monument and use it as raw material for a new public artwork. The Heritage Center said they would accept public comment on what to do with the bronze, which may include stepping or spitting on it. The Trevelyan and Ratcliffe Foundations submitted their own unsuccessful bids to take control of the statue, which the city of Charlottesville declined and ignored. In May 2023, the Ratcliffe Foundation was removed from the lawsuit because its corporate status in the state had lapsed in 2015. This was a surprising removal because they are a nonprofit organization, and so their corporate status is not very relevant. It's also surprising since the organization's run by Devin Henry, who refers to himself as a statue slayer online, removed monuments, and he hired individuals convicted of fraud by the U.S. Department of Justice. There are ethical obligations around fraud in state contracts in the Commonwealth of Virginia, so it was surprising that Devin Henry's organization received a $900,000 grant to remove statues in Richmond. The government of Richmond, which is headed by Black Mayor LeVar Stoney, is currently experiencing a homeless and heroin crisis, and so for it to pay Devin Henry $900,000 to remove the statue of A.P. Hill, which included Hill's body, was an exorbitant amount. Despite grave desecration laws on the books in Virginia, the city of Richmond paid even more to get a special court order to oversee these laws and overrule them and dig up Hill's body. Last week, a circuit court judge ruled that 2 claims at the center of the Trevelyan Station Battlefield Foundation's case were invalid because the organization submitted its bid for the Lee statue too late. However, the judge left the door open for the foundation to sue the city of Charlottesville for allegedly violating Virginia's Freedom of Information Act. The government of Charlottesville ignored requests from Americans to information under FOIA, and this information was vital to the lawsuit brought by the Ratcliffe Foundation and the Trevelyan Station Battlefield Foundation, and so no doubt contributed to their late filing as they gathered information. I believe the federal FOIA Act was also violated by the Charlottesville government, which should result in even more damages should the lawsuit be pursued. Our goal really is to engage in a conversation about public space and how one makes those public spaces in the most democratic way possible. This is a quote from the Marxists that wanted to remove the Robert E. Lee statue. Despite this statement about creating a conversation and the repetitive argument from the press that Confederate statues belong in museums, we are now seeing these organizations completely destroy these statues by melting them down. American sculptor Henry Schrady was commissioned to create the Robert E. Lee Memorial in Charlottesville in 1917. The project was taken over by Italian artist Leo Lentelli upon Schrady's death in 1922, and Lentelli completed the statue in 1924. Lentelli was an Italian immigrant, and he taught at schools throughout New York and California for over 50 years. He also designed Rockefeller Center in New York. Among Leo Lentelli's marks of recognition are the 1922 Medal of Honor of the Architectural League of New York and gold medal at the National Academy of Design exhibition in 1927. He was a fellow of the National Sculpture Society, an associate member of the National Academy of Design, and a member of the Architectural League of New York. The Robert E. Lee statue is incredibly powerful due to its depiction of Lee's horse, which is shown in a tense position. This is the Italian-American legacy that will also be melted down by out-of-control Marxists in Charlottesville. In 2017, Charlottesville's 5-member city council voted 3-2 to remove the Lee Memorial from view. This decision was subsequently challenged by a lawsuit from multiple plaintiffs, including descendants of the statue's donor, who claimed that taking down the object violated a state law that protects veterans' monuments. In 2019, a Virginia judge sided with the plaintiffs and issued a permanent injunction preventing the removal of the memorial. That ruling was overturned by the Virginia Supreme Court in April of 2021, which inspired a total rewrite of laws around veterans' monuments in Virginia, and the injunction was lifted. So the Lee Monument was removed in July 2021, but until now, no one has decided what to do with it. Articles on the breadth of corruption and FOIA failure around this statue are hard to find. I did have to read publications by Belgrade journalists to get the whole story because American news outlets refused to cover it in its totality. This is not an isolated incident. The Confederate Veterans Memorial in Arlington Cemetery is also under attack, and if you are interested, you can support some of the organizations I mentioned prior, such as the Virginia Flaggers, the Spirit of VMI, Abbeville Institute, and also the Arlington Cemetery petition on change.org.